The stars were dying. Keela pressed her long fingers against the cool metal of the communications console. Her blue skin had turned pale with fear. Around her, the control room buzzed with panic. Other Zephyrians ran between stations, their normally calm voices now sharp with terror. "How many systems have we lost?" Keela asked. Her assistant, Morn, looked up from his screen. His large eyes were wet with tears. 17 in the last cycle. "The Devourers are moving faster now." Keela closed her eyes. 17 star systems. Billions of lives, all gone in just one day. The Devourers had come from the deep places between stars. They looked like giant metal insects. But they were not alive. They were machines, old beyond counting. They had slept in the cold dark for thousands of years. Now they were awake and hungry. When the Devourers found a world with life, they ate everything. Plants, animals, people. Nothing was left. They turned all living things into more of themselves. Each world they consumed made them stronger and more numerous. The great armies of the galaxy had tried to stop them. The Krex warriors, with their massive ships and powerful weapons, had fought for 3 months. The Devourers destroyed them all. The Vorthan Collective had used their best technology and smartest minds. They lasted 2 weeks. Now only the Zephyrians remained from the old Galactic Council. They were healers, not fighters. Their whole culture was built on peace and helping others. They had never learned to make war. "Show me the outer perimeter," Keela said. The main screen lit up with a map of local space. Red dots marked where the Devourers were. The red was spreading like a disease. Soon it would reach Zephyr Prime, their homeworld. "How long do we have?" Keela asked. "At their current speed, maybe 6 days," Morn replied. His voice was barely a whisper. Keela stared at the screen. 6 days. Not enough time to evacuate everyone. Not enough time to run. The Devourers were faster than their best ships. "What about the defense grid?" she asked. Morn shook his head. "It might slow them down for a few hours. The Vorthans had better defenses than us." It did not help them. Around them, other Zephyrians worked desperately at their stations. They were trying everything they could think of: new shield designs, different weapons, evacuation plans. But Keela knew it was hopeless. If the mighty Krex could not stop the Devourers, what chance did peaceful healers have? "Ma'am," a young technician called out. "We are getting reports from the outer colonies." "What kind of reports?" Keela asked, though she feared the answer. "The Devourers have reached Zephyr 7. The colonists are. They are sending their final messages." Keela's hands began to shake. Zephyr 7 was home to 3 million people. Good people who spent their lives growing food and healing the sick. Now, they were about to die. And there was nothing she could do to save them. She walked to the center of the room. Every Zephyrian in the control center was looking at her now. They expected her to have answers, to have some plan that would save them all. But she had nothing. "Open a channel to all remaining council worlds," she said. Morn worked at his console. "Channel open, ma'am." Orin worked at his Hisla. "Channel open, ma'am." Keela took a deep breath. "This is Council Leader Keela, to all surviving member worlds. The Devourers have broken through our outer defenses. Zephyr 7 has fallen. We estimate 6 days until they reach our core systems." She paused, trying to find the right words. "I know we have asked much from each other in these dark times, but if anyone has ships that can evacuate civilians, if anyone has weapons we have not tried, if anyone has any ideas at all, please. We are running out of time." The replies came quickly. Most were the same. Expressions of sympathy and regret. No one had ships to spare. No one had weapons that could stop the Devourers. The few remaining council worlds were too busy preparing their own defenses. "Ma'am," Morn said quietly, "maybe we should try a general broadcast. Send a message to any ship or station that might hear us." "You mean ask for help from pirates and smugglers?" Keela asked. "I mean ask for help from anyone who might give it," Morn replied. "Even criminals do not want the galaxy to end." Keela thought about this. It went against everything the Council stood for. They were supposed to be the civilized ones, the leaders who maintained order. Asking outlaws for help seemed wrong, but what choice did they have? Do it, she said. Open a general channel. Maximum range. The communications array hummed with power. Their signal would reach across half the galaxy. Keela hoped someone out there would listen. This is Council Leader Kayla of the Zephyrian government, she began. To any who can hear this message, we are the last of the Galactic Council. An ancient threat called the Devourers has awakened. They have destroyed the Krex Empire and the Vorthan Collective. Our defenses have failed. Our warriors are dead. Her voice began to crack with emotion. We have tried every weapon, every strategy known to civilized species. Nothing works. They cannot be stopped, cannot be reasoned with, cannot be turned aside. They will consume everything living in this galaxy, unless someone helps us. She looked around the room at her people. They were good people. They deserved better than this. If there is anyone out there who can help us, please. We are dying. Our children are dying. In 6 days, the Devourers will reach our home world. After that, they will spread to every corner of the galaxy. This may be the last message anyone ever sends. Keela closed the channel and sank into her chair. The control room was silent, except for the quiet hum of machines. Everyone was thinking the same thing. They had just admitted to the entire galaxy that they were helpless. How long until we get responses? She asked. First signals should arrive in about 12 hours, Morn said. Depending on how far away anyone is. 12 hours. Then they would know if their desperate plea had reached anyone who could help, or if they would die alone in the dark. The last voices. In a silent galaxy. 3 days had passed since Keela sent their desperate message across the galaxy. 3 days of waiting and hoping while the red dots on their screens crept closer to home. The responses had not been encouraging. Most were expressions of sympathy from distant worlds too far away to help. Some were from traders and smugglers who offered to evacuate important people for huge amounts of money. A few were from other species facing their own devourer attacks, begging for help themselves. No one offered to fight. No one had weapons that could stop the ancient machines. The galaxy was going to die. And everyone knew it. Keela sat in the command center, staring at the tactical display. The Devourers had consumed Zephyr 7 completely. The entire planet was now a gray wasteland covered with metal factories that built more Devourers. 3 million people had become fuel for their own destroyers. Ma'am, Morn said from his console. We are receiving another response to our broadcast. Kayla sighed. Another message of sympathy. Probably. Or another criminal looking to profit from their desperation. Put it through, she said without looking up. The communications array crackled with static. Then a voice came through, speaking in clear galactic standard. But the accent was strange, unlike anything Keela had heard before. Zephyrian Council, this is Commander Sarah Chen of the Terran Defense Force. We received your distress call. We're coming. The control room went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at the speakers. Did they say Terran? Morn whispered. Kayla frowned. She had never heard of any species called Terrans. After 30 years in the diplomatic service, she knew every member of the Galactic Council and most of the independent worlds. But Terrans? The name meant nothing to her. Computer, she said. Search all databases for species designation, Terran, or worlds called Terra. The computer hummed for a moment. No results found in galactic census data. No diplomatic records. No trade agreements. No military alliances. That was impossible. If the Terrans had ships capable of interstellar travel, they should be in the databases. The Council kept careful records of every spacefaring species. Try searching for Chen, Kella said. It was obviously a personal name. But maybe their naming conventions would give a clue. No matches found, the computer replied. Morn looked puzzled. Ma'am, how can an entire species not be in our records? Maybe they are new to space travel, suggested Jira, one of the younger technicians. Some worlds develop faster than others, Keela shook her head. If they just achieved spaceflight, how could they help us? We need warships, experienced soldiers. It takes centuries to build that kind of military power. Should I respond to them? Morn asked. Kayla thought about it. Even if these Terrans were a primitive species with only basic ships, any help was better than none. Maybe they had some new technology the Devourers had not encountered before. Yes, she said. Open a channel. Channel open, ma'am. Commander Chen, this is Council Leader Kayla. Thank you for responding to our message. Before you commit your people to this fight, you should know what you would be facing. The Devourers are not like other enemies. They cannot be negotiated with or frightened away. They have destroyed the two most powerful military forces in known space. Are you certain your people want to risk this? The response came back quickly. Too quickly, as if the Terrans were close by. We understand the situation, Council Leader. Our scouts have been observing Devourer activity for the past month. We know what they are capable of. Keela felt a chill run down her spine. Scouts? The Terrans had been watching the Devourers for a month and had said nothing? Why would they wait until now to reveal themselves? Commander, she said carefully. We have no record of your species in our databases. Could you tell us more about your people and where you come from? Another quick response. We come from a world called Earth in the Sol system. We are new to this region of space. Keela gestured to Morn, who began searching for information about Earth and Sol. His face grew more confused as he worked. Ma'am, he whispered. Sol is listed as a yellow star in the outer spiral arm. But according to our surveys, it only has primitive life. No signs of technology or civilization. Kayla kept her expression calm, but inside she was growing more worried. How could a species develop from primitive life to interstellar travel without anyone noticing? And why were they so eager to fight the Devourers when every other advanced species had failed? Commander Chen, she said, we appreciate your offer of assistance. However, I must ask, what makes you believe your forces can succeed where the Krex Empire and Vorthan Collective failed? This time there was a pause before the response came. When it did, Kayla detected something in the human commander's voice that made her skin crawl. It sounded almost like excitement. Let's just say we have experience with this kind of problem, Council Leader. How long until the Devourers reach your core worlds? Approximately 3 days, Keela replied. Understood. Our fleet will arrive in 36 hours. We'll handle the rest. The channel went silent. Kayla stared at the speakers, unsure whether to feel relieved or terrified. Ma'am, Jira said hesitantly. Did that sound strange to you? Keela nodded slowly. Very strange. They said they have experience with this kind of problem. But the Devourers are unique. They are unlike any threat the galaxy has ever faced. Maybe they fought something similar on their homeworld, Morn suggested. Or maybe, Keela said quietly, they are not what they seem. She turned to her communications officer. I want constant monitoring of all channels. If any other ships enter our system, I want to know immediately. And I want our defense forces on full alert. Ma'am, the officer asked, should I configure them to watch for Devourers or for these Terrans? Keela considered the question. The Devourers were certainly coming to destroy them, but something about the human response filled her with dread. The eagerness in Commander Chen's voice, the way they claimed to have experience with an unprecedented threat, the fact that they had been watching the destruction for a month without offering help until now. Both, she said finally. Watch for both. As the control room returned to its work, Kayla found herself staring at the star charts. Somewhere out there, unknown ships were racing toward them. Ships crewed by beings from a world that supposedly had no technology. Beings who claimed they could defeat an enemy that had destroyed entire civilizations. She hoped they were saviors. But a growing part of her feared they might be something much worse. The human fleet appeared without warning. One moment Keela was staring at empty space on the main screen. The next, dozens of ships materialized from faster-than-light travel, their engines blazing as they dropped into normal space near Zephyr Prime. Alert stations, Keela called out. Unknown fleet has entered our system, but even as she gave the order, she knew these had to be the Terrans. They had arrived exactly when Commander Chen promised they would. Keela had seen many different types of starships in her years of diplomatic service. The elegant curves of Vorthan science vessels, the massive bulk of Krek's battleships, the delicate, artistic designs favored by her own people. The human ships looked like nothing she had ever seen. They were huge, blocky things that seemed to have been built with only one purpose in mind: war. There were no decorative elements, no artistic flourishes, just thick armor plating, weapon turrets, and engines designed for raw power rather than efficiency. They looked less like spaceships and more like flying fortresses. "Ma'am," Morn said from his sensor station, "I am reading 67 human vessels. Most appear to be military craft of unknown design." "Any attempt to communicate?" Keela asked. "Not yet. They are maintaining radio silence." Keela frowned. It was standard protocol for military fleets to announce themselves when entering foreign space. The humans seemed to be ignoring basic diplomatic courtesy. "Open a channel," she ordered. "Channel open, ma'am." "Commander Chen, this is Council Leader Keela. Welcome to Zephyrian space. We are grateful for your assistance against the Devourer threat." The response came back immediately, but it was not what Keela expected. "Council Leader. This is Admiral Marcus Webb, commanding the 1st Terran Battle Fleet. Commander Chen sends her regards, but she is currently preparing for combat operations. We'll take it from here." The channel closed before Keela could respond. Take it from here? What did that mean? The Devourers were still 2 days away from Zephyr Prime. Surely the humans would want to coordinate their defense, share intelligence, plan their strategy together. "Ma'am," called out Jira from the tactical station, "the human fleet is moving toward the outer system. They appear to be heading directly for the advancing Devourer swarm." Keela felt her heart skip a beat. Heading toward them? Not taking defensive positions? "No, ma'am. They are accelerating rapidly. Current course will intercept the Devourers in approximately 6 hours." This made no sense. Every military expert who had studied the Devourers agreed that direct confrontation was suicide. The mechanical swarms were too numerous, too heavily armed. The only hope was to use defensive positions, force them to attack prepared fortifications where their numbers would be less of an advantage. "Get me Admiral Webb," Keela ordered. It took several minutes before the humans responded. When they did, Webb's voice sounded distracted, as if he was busy with other things. "What is it, Council Leader?" "Admiral, our tactical analysis suggests that engaging the Devourers in open space is extremely dangerous. They outnumber your fleet by at least 10 to 1. Might I suggest we coordinate a defensive strategy around our orbital platforms?" Webb's laugh was cold and harsh. "Thanks for the suggestion, but we prefer to take the fight to them. Works better that way." "And the most? Admiral, you do not understand. The Devourers have destroyed fleets much larger than yours. The Kreks committed over 300 ships to a single battle and were completely wiped out." "The Kreks were not us," Webb replied simply. Then the channel went dead. Keela stared at the communication console in disbelief. Were the humans insane? Did they think they were somehow superior to species that had been fighting wars for thousands of years? "Ma'am," Morn said quietly, "incoming transmission from our outer sensor stations." "Put it through." The voice that came through was panicked and breathless. "Control, this is Sensor Station 12. The Devourer swarm has detected the human fleet. They are changing course to intercept." "Ma'am, there are thousands of them. The humans are going to be slaughtered." Keela closed her eyes. She had hoped the Terrans could provide some assistance, maybe evacuate some civilians, or provide covering fire for their own escape attempts. Instead, they were about to throw their lives away, in a hopeless charge, against overwhelming odds. "Track the engagement," she ordered. "Record everything. Other species need to learn from this mistake." For the next few hours, Keela and her staff watched their sensors as the two fleets raced toward each other. The humans maintained their aggressive course, never wavering, never showing any sign that they understood the impossible odds they faced. When the fleets met, Keela expected to see the quick destruction of the human ships. Instead, she saw something that made no sense at all. The humans did not try to maintain formation or use advanced tactics. They simply flew straight into the heart of the Devourer swarm, and started firing everything they had. Worse than that, they seemed to be ramming the enemy ships deliberately. Are they using kamikaze tactics? Jira asked in horror. No, Morn replied, studying his instruments. They are boarding the Devourer vessels. Keela felt sick. She had watched the Devourers fight before. No organic being could survive inside one of their ships. The machines filled their interiors with poisonous gases and deadly radiation specifically to prevent boarding attempts. Ma'am, the sensor operator called out, I am detecting human life signs inside multiple Devourer craft. How is that possible? Show me, Keela ordered. The main screen displayed a tactical view of the battle. To Keela's amazement, several Devourer ships were going dark, their systems failing one by one. According to the sensors, humans were inside them, somehow surviving in conditions that should have killed them instantly. Focus on Devourer ship designated Tango 7, she said. The screen zoomed in on one of the mechanical vessels. Through their advanced sensors, they could see human figures moving through the ship's corridors, but they were not wearing environmental suits or breathing apparatus. They were fighting the Devourers hand-to-hand, using primitive kinetic weapons and their bare hands. And they were winning. As Kayla watched in growing horror, she realized something that chilled her to her core. The humans were not fighting desperately for survival. They were not grimly determined soldiers doing their duty. They were enjoying themselves. She could hear them over the communication channels they had tapped into, human voices shouting with excitement, laughing as they tore apart machines with their bare hands. They sounded like children playing a game, not soldiers fighting for their lives. My God, Morn whispered. What kind of species are these humans? Keela could not answer. She was too busy watching the impossible. The mighty Devourers, ancient machines that had consumed entire civilizations, were being destroyed by primitives who fought with their hands and seemed to think it was fun. For the first time since the crisis began, she felt truly afraid. Not of the Devourers anymore, but of the things that were destroying them. The battle had been raging for 12 hours, and Kayla could not believe what she was seeing. The humans were not just winning against the Devourers, they were dominating them completely. Ship after ship of the ancient machines went dark, as human boarding parties fought their way through corridors that should have been impossible for organic life to survive. Ma'am, Morn called from his station. I am picking up human communication signals. Should I try to decrypt them? Kayla nodded. Do it. I want to understand how they are achieving this. As Morn worked, Keela stared at the tactical display. The red dots, representing Devourer ships, were disappearing faster than she could count. In 12 hours, the humans had destroyed more enemy vessels than the entire Krex fleet had managed in 3 months of fighting. Got it, ma'am, Morn said, putting their communications on speaker. The control room filled with human voices. But these were not the calm, professional tones Keela expected from military personnel. These voices were full of excitement, laughter, and something else that made her skin crawl. Bravo, team, this is Alpha Leader. A woman's voice crackled through the speakers. We have secured the engine room. Resistance was lighter than expected. Copy that. Alpha, came the reply. How are you finding their defenses? Honestly, disappointing. These things were supposed to be unstoppable galactic destroyers. They fight like training dummies. Another voice joined in, laughing. At least they do not surrender. I hate it when they surrender. Keela felt cold all over. Hate it when they surrender? What kind of people were these? Ma'am, Jira whispered. They sound like they are having fun. Before Keela could respond, another transmission came through. All units, this is Admiral Webb. Outstanding work today. Body count is looking very impressive. Remember to save some of their technology for the research teams. Command wants to study their construction methods. Roger that, Admiral, came multiple replies. Any word on when we can expect more targets? Intelligence suggests there are more Devourer swarms in neighboring systems. We'll move to intercept them once we finish cleaning up here. Morn looked pale. They want to find more Devourers to fight? Keela was beginning to understand something terrible. The humans had not come to save the galaxy from the Devourers. They had come because fighting the Devourers was exactly what they wanted to do. Computer, she said, Analyze human ship designs and compare them to known galactic technology. The computer hummed for a moment. Analysis complete. Human vessels show no influence from known galactic civilizations. Technology appears to be independently developed, focused entirely on combat applications. Weapons systems are primitive but extremely effective. Armor is designed for ramming and close combat rather than energy deflection. What about their faster-than-light systems? Keela asked. Crude, but functional. Appears to be recently developed. Less than 50 years old based on design characteristics. 50 years? That meant the humans had only achieved interstellar travel recently. But their ships and tactics suggested centuries of military experience. How was that possible? Try to access their ship databases, Keela ordered. I want to know more about these people. Morn worked at his console for several minutes. Ma'am, I am picking up data streams from their fleet. Some of it appears to be historical records. Show me. The main screen filled with images from the human database. What Kayla saw made her hearts race with terror. The pictures showed a blue and green world, Earth. But the images were not of peaceful cities or beautiful landscapes. They were of war. Endless, brutal war. Humans fighting with primitive weapons. Humans fighting with advanced technology. Humans fighting on land, in the air, on the seas, and in space around their own world. Century after century of constant, devastating conflict. My God, Morn breathed. They have been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. The database contained military records going back thousands of years. The humans had invented warfare and turned it into an art form. They had weapons Kayla had never imagined, strategies that were brilliant and terrifying. They had spent millennia learning how to destroy their enemies in the most efficient ways possible. Look at this, Jira said, pointing to one section of the data. They call it the World Wars. They fought global conflicts that killed millions of their own people. Kayla read the records with growing horror. The humans had not developed spaceflight to explore the galaxy or spread their peaceful civilization. They had built interstellar ships to escape their own dying world, a world they had nearly destroyed through constant warfare. More data flowed across the screen. Images of human soldiers in countless conflicts, weapons that could level entire cities, military academies where children were taught the science of killing, a civilization that had spent its entire existence preparing for war. Ma'am, Morn said weakly. There is something else. Audio logs from their current operation. Play them. A human voice filled the room, speaking to someone else during the battle. You know what the best part about this assignment is, Jenkins? What's that, Sarge? Finally found something worth fighting. Back home, we were getting soft. 20 years of peace after we finished with the orbital rebellions. The troops were getting restless. Yeah, I hear you. My unit was doing training exercises, but it's not the same as the real thing. These devourer things, though. They're perfect. No civilians to worry about. No surrender options. No rules of engagement. Just pure, honest combat. Until one side is completely dead. Kind of makes you wonder why the aliens were so scared of them. Different species, different capabilities, I guess. These council types seem nice enough. But they're not built for this kind of work. Keela turned off the audio feed. She could not bear to hear any more. The truth was now clear. The humans were not a civilization in the galactic sense. They were survivors from the most violent world in known space. A species that had spent its entire existence learning how to fight and kill. They had achieved spaceflight not through peaceful scientific advancement, but as a tool of war. The Devourers represented everything humans had trained for their entire history. An enemy that could not be reasoned with, could not surrender, and would not stop until one side was completely destroyed. To the humans, this was not a rescue mission. It was exactly the kind of fight they had been hoping to find. Ma'am, Morn said quietly, what have we done? Kayla stared at the battle display, where human ships continued their systematic destruction of the Devourer fleet. They had called for help against an unstoppable enemy, and help had arrived. But the cure might be far worse than the disease. These humans did not see the Devourers as a threat to be eliminated. They saw them as toys to be played with. And once the Devourers were gone, what would the humans do next? 17 days. That was how long it took the humans to end a war that had destroyed the greatest civilizations in galactic history. Not 17 months. Not 17 years. 17 days. Kayla sat alone in her office, staring at the final battle reports. The last Devourer ship had been destroyed 6 hours ago. The ancient mechanical plague that had consumed entire star systems was extinct. Every single unit had been hunted down and eliminated with ruthless efficiency. The galaxy was safe. So why did she feel more terrified than ever? A soft chime indicated an incoming message. Kayla looked at her communication console and saw it was from Admiral Webb of the human fleet. Council Leader Kayla, this is Admiral Webb. The Devourer threat has been eliminated. We are preparing to depart your system. Kayla activated the reply channel. Admiral, on behalf of all surviving species in this region of space, I thank you for your assistance. The galaxy owes your people a debt that can never be repaid. She meant it. Despite her growing fears about human nature, they had saved everyone from certain extinction. Without their intervention, the Devourers would have consumed every living thing in known space. Webb's response came back quickly. No thanks necessary, Council Leader. We enjoyed the work. Even now, after everything she had learned about them, the humans' casual attitude toward violence still chilled her. Admiral, Kayla continued, if there is anything we can offer your people, technology, resources, cultural exchange, please let us know. We would be honored to establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. There was a pause before Webb replied. When he did, his voice carried a tone that made Kayla's skin crawl. Actually, Council Leader, there is something. The intelligence we gathered during this operation has been very valuable. We now have detailed information about the military capabilities, population centers, and defensive strategies of every major species in this region of space. Kayla felt her heart stop. I am not sure I understand. Admiral. Oh, I think you do. See, the thing about us humans is that we are always planning for the next conflict. It is how we have survived for so long. This little war with the Devourers taught us a lot about local galactic species. Strengths, weaknesses, how you think, how you fight. Admiral, Kayla said, trying to keep her voice steady. Surely you do not see us as enemies. We called you here for help. Enemy is such a strong word, Webb replied. Let's just say we believe in being prepared. The galaxy is a big place, and humans have a lot of exploring to do. It helps to know what we might encounter. The channel went silent for a moment. Then Webb spoke again. And this time there was no mistaking the threat in his voice. Thank you for the intelligence data, Council Leader. We'll be in touch. The communication ended. Kayla sat in the dark of her office, her hands shaking as the full meaning of Webb's words sank in. The humans had not just defeated the Devourers, they had studied every species that participated in the defense. They knew Zephyrian ship designs, Krek's military tactics, Vorthan technology. They had complete intelligence profiles on every civilization in known space, and they planned to use that information. Kayla activated her personal terminal and began typing. If this was to be the end of galactic civilization as they knew it, someone needed to record what had really happened. Personal log. Council Leader Kayla. Final entry. She began. The Devourer War is over. Humanity has won a complete victory. But I fear we have made a terrible mistake. The species we called to save us are not the peaceful explorers we hoped for. They are predators, evolved on a world of constant warfare. They see violence not as a last resort, but as entertainment. They have spent their entire history learning how to destroy their enemies, and they are very good at it. The Devourers were ancient machines programmed to consume all life, but at least they were predictable. They wanted to feed and grow. Humans want something much more complex and terrifying. They want to test themselves against worthy opponents. They want to hunt. For thousands of years, our galaxy was ruled by wisdom and cooperation. The strong protected the weak. Knowledge was shared freely. Conflicts were resolved through diplomacy whenever possible. That age is over. The humans have shown they can destroy any military force they encounter. They have intelligence on every major civilization. They have weapons we cannot match, and tactics we do not understand. Most importantly, they have the will to use them. I do not believe they will conquer us in the traditional sense. That would be too simple for a species that sees war as art. Instead, they will manage us, control us, use us for their own purposes while letting us think we are still free. We called for help against the darkness between the stars. What answered was something far darker than anything we feared. Kayla paused in her typing. Through her office window, she could see the human fleet preparing to leave. Their massive, brutal ships were already moving toward the edge of the system, but she knew they would be back. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not next year, but they would return when it suited their purposes. And when they did, they would not be asking for permission. She finished her log entry. To any who read this in the future, remember that we chose this path. When faced with extinction, we chose to call the humans rather than die with dignity. We traded the quick death of the devourers for the slow enslavement of our entire civilization. The galaxy now belongs to Earth's children. They have not conquered it through force, they have inherited it through our own desperation. We gave them everything they needed to rule us, and we thanked them for taking it. May whatever gods watch over this galaxy have mercy on us all. Keela sealed the log file and uploaded it to the Council archives. Then she walked to her window and watched the human fleet disappear into faster-than-light travel. The stars looked the same as they always had, but everything had changed. The galaxy that had been ruled by cooperation and wisdom would now be ruled by beings who saw violence as entertainment and conquest as inevitable. The age of peace was over. The age of humanity had begun. In the weeks that followed, reports began reaching Zephyr Prime from across the galaxy. Human exploration fleets were appearing in system after system, always with the same message. They were there to help maintain peace and stability in the post-Devourer era. No one tried to refuse them. No one dared. Everyone had seen what happened to enemies of humanity. The Devourers had wanted to consume the galaxy. The humans had simply taken ownership of it. And somehow, that was infinitely more terrifying.